welcome back to my channel. We're making peach cobbler cheesecake by OMG Chocolate Desserts today. I am very excited. So for ingredients, you need peaches. I got these ones canned from my mama, so I'm going to use these ones in it. It's saying you need 8 large peaches, so hopefully there's about that in there. You'll need brown sugar, lemon juice, cornstarch, cinnamon, nutmeg, graham crackers. I was surprised because these ones were less expensive than the non-name brand kind. I don't know. It was weird. You need unsalted butter. You'll need some melted and some in the fridge, like hard, cold. Some cold butter. Cream cheese, vanilla extract, sour cream. The recipe calls for 4 large eggs. Again, I don't have large eggs. They're pretty small, so I'm going to do 5. Flour, baking powder, salt, and not shown here, boiling water, because I don't need to boil it until much later, so I'll be waiting on that. So the first thing I'm going to be making is the peach filling and topping. So I gotta get these open, fully canned, so you gotta break the seal at the top. Pop. I will be reusing the jar so I can reuse the part that you screw on there. You can't reuse the other part that seals, unfortunately. You have to get new ones of those every time, but I'll be able to reuse everything else for this jar. So we're just going to get a large little saucepan here, and I'm just going to dump the peaches directly into it. It was here that I realized the peaches weren't already sliced. They were just kind of halved. I don't know how I didn't notice that before, but we need sliced peaches, so I'm going to go ahead and slice these. It says to slice them about 1/3 to 1/2 inch thick. I think I did pretty good. I probably could have sliced these a little bit thinner. I had to do a little taste test of the peaches there. They taste very yummy. Thank you, Mommy. Ah! I just realized just then that I forgot to wash my hands, so I'm going to do that now. We won't tell my husband, who is going to be the only other person eating this, so this is going to be a secret between us that I touched all of those peaches with my dirty fingers. Anyway, I'm washing them now. And I had this thought while I was doing the peaches. There's a lot of juices at the bottom. And I didn't see in the recipe, you know, obviously they wanted you to use fresh peaches. So I had this thought, and I think it's my baker's instincts kicking in, Buzz, maybe we don't have the peach juice in the mixture. So I decided that since the peach mixture wasn't like part of it, I'm going to go ahead and put that in my fridge to use for something else. And I think that was a smart move to make. All right, we're just going to return our peaches to the pan. Okay, and then we need just a very medium-sized bowl. It's fine. We're going to add a 1/2 cup of brown sugar. And here I am. I of course, it's off camera. I'm just packing it down. My mom told me that in a recipe, even if it doesn't say to pack the brown sugar, you should always pack the brown sugar when doing these recipes. So that's what I'm doing. And do not worry, I listened to your comments, so I'm getting it right up to the rim with this stuff. And here I am trying to put the remnants, because I really wanted to get this right, and of course, it immediately got everywhere. Let's try to get that back into the... I don't even know. We're just going to do the cleanup of shame here for a second. Alright, so our 1/2 cup of brown sugar is going to go straight into the bowl, not on the counter. Yeah, let's try to get that in there. It'll come out eventually. There it goes. Woo! We're going to do 1/2 cup of sugar. Look at that technique. The pour, the shake. We're making sure it gets... Oh, well. Let's just get rid of those lumps a little bit. Little bit more. Little bit more. Little more. Oh. Perfect. 1/2 cup of sugar. And I almost forgot, but you need to put the lemon juice in with the peaches. I'm just washing that lemon up really quick. Don't look at me while I cut on my counter. We won't think about that. All right, you need 1 tablespoon of lemon juice. I, of course, have my half a tablespoon here. My 1 tablespoon is still in with my coffee. So there's half. Oop. Look, my hands are slightly wet and the lemon is covered in lemon juice, okay? It's real slippery. Hard to hold on to. And I'm fast realizing that I didn't cut enough lemon off. Oh, there I go again. Unfortunately, I have to cut off another little piece of lemon. Which, why would we get a cutting board for that? Woo, all right, that's 1 tablespoon of lemon in with the peaches. Back to our dry ingredients. We're going to do 2 tablespoons of cornstarch. So I've got my half tablespoon here, so we should do half. And there's 1 and half. And there's, oh, maybe. There's 2. Perfect. We're going to do a teaspoon of cinnamon. Perfect. So you need a fourth of a teaspoon of nutmeg. I don't know where my fourth was, so I'm doing 2 1/8 is what I'm doing to get to a fourth. I hope that math is correct. I'm pretty sure it is. There's next part, it says to stir it with a wooden spoon, but I don't have a wooden spoon, so I'm just going to use my little spatula here. We're going to get that all nice and together. All right, now we got to change locations. Field trip. All right, so we're going to put our peaches on a medium-high heat. It says to cook for 8 to 10 minutes, and we're just going to add all that dry mixture to that. Try not to look at my stovetop. I never feel like it's clean enough, you know, especially when I do these videos. I feel like I'm constantly cleaning. I don't know, what do you guys use to clean your stovetops? Because I just feel like mine's constantly gross. Anyway, after I got the mixture completely together and in, I realized that my stovetop wasn't actually on. I've got one of the gas ones, and if the fire doesn't go, it doesn't do anything. So I'm going to skip past the point of me pointlessly not cooking. And when you have your oven on, it's just medium-high heat, 8 to 10 minutes. It says or until the peaches become soft. My peaches, you know, because they were canned, were already kind of soft, so I just did it for the 8 minutes. So this is kind of what it looks like after 8 minutes. You're going to set that aside to cool, and then we'll come back to this mixture. I'm just doing a little taste test here if the peaches will let me, just to make sure everything's tasting, you know, good. Do I need to add that peach, you know, sauce back in, or the juices? But no, this tasted really good. I was excited. Okay, we're going to move on to the graham cracker crust. Now, it does say to line the bottom of a 9 by 13, 3, I'm not sure, inches springform pan. I'm pretty sure I wrote this down wrong, so I'll put on the screen what it's actually supposed to be. I don't have a springform pan. That's basically like the pans where you can unhook the sides. So I'm just going to use the one pan I have. And we're going to learn that with parchment paper. While I struggle to do that parchment paper, I'll also explain this next bit. It does say to spray lightly with a non-stick spray. I don't have any non-stick sprays. I contemplated doing butter, but then I got worried that it would affect the taste of everything. I don't know. I hope it doesn't stick too bad to this. We'll find out, I guess. Now just kind of trimming up the edges. I did want to keep some excess around the top because I am going to have to lift the cheesecake out when it's done. And I was pretty happy about doing that, so hopefully that works out. If you are using a springform pan, after you're done putting the parchment paper down and spraying it lightly with nonstick spray, you have to wrap it with 2 large sheets of heavy-duty aluminum foil to make sure no water leaks into the pan during the baking in, because you're going to bake this in a water bath. So you just, if you're using the other one, you want to make sure no water gets into your stuff. I'm not going to do that because I'm not going to have that issue. No water is getting into this thing. Okay, you're going to set this aside and we're going to preheat the oven to 425 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, now we're going to make the graham cracker crust. And you do need a fork for this bit. Okay, it specifically says in the recipe to use a fork. So I'm going to. All right, the graham cracker crust was pretty straightforward. You just need 3 cups of graham cracker crumbs. Here I was thinking about what I could do, and I had a good thought. As many of you are probably thinking right now, Ziploc bag. Yes. All right, we're just gonna beat that. It's kind of scary to watch on camera a little bit. Like, it feels like I'm about to whack us in the face here. I realized when beating it that, oh no, we immediately busted a hole in this little bag, so I needed to get out the heavy-duty bags. Alright, we're just gonna put that right in the bag. I think I could have probably made this a little bit finer. This part was a little bit tricky just because there was 2 bags, but I think I did it a good way. Bag in bag and then into the thing. Oh, I struggled a little bit though. It's fine. It's fine. I was a little bit worried at this point that I wouldn't have 3 cups worth just because, I don't know, I for some reason thought it was going to go a lot further. And here's cup number 3. We got all 3 cups in there. And I'm just going to close that back up. I don't know. I'll think about what I can do with the rest of those crumbs. Okay, now we're just going to put 3/4 of a cup unsalted butter in here. So here I've got, 2 1/4 cups. And then I just need to take 1/4 out of this one. So I think this is the only spot where we actually, like, guesstimated. But, I mean, it is the crust. So, and it's only 2 ingredients. I feel like if it wasn't, building up into a crust, I could have foreseen that and, added more butter or something. So you're just going to mix it all together until it is all evenly moistened. All right, that's looking pretty good to me. So now we're just going to take that pan that we put some parchment paper down, and you're just going to press this down into the bottom of the pan. And we're just going to take handfuls of that and just press and press and press. I started realizing pretty quickly that there was a lot to press down, and I got kind of worried that we wouldn't have enough room for the cheesecake filling and the peaches and everything that needed to be done. And also, I like graham cracker crust, so I started to, kind of do my own little, like, flair to it, and I decided, you know what? We're going to add it up the sides a bit, just kind of push it up the sides a little bit. I've seen that, I feel like, on cheesecakes before, how the crust kind of goes up the bottom, right? I don't know, but that's what I attempted to do. I just pretty much just was really trying to pack this crust in there, really tamping it down and kind of pushing it up the sides a bit as I went. All right, here's the last little bit of it. I'm just really pushing it in. These dang fruit flies that you can see flying around. We put everything off of the counters. Like, there's nothing out anymore. Like, we used to have, like, not veggies, but fruit out on the counters, like bananas and stuff like that, but they're all in the fridge. I hope they leave soon. They're really annoying. All right, crust done. We're gonna put that in the fridge while we do the next part. It says fridge or freezer while making the filling, but I think I've said this before, but I think some food just tastes funny in the freezer, so I don't really want to risk that. All right, we're making the cheesecake filling now, and I'm bringing out the big guns. You see the beater? That way we make sure we get this done correctly. Into our bowl, you're going to put 3 8-ounce packages of cream cheese, softened, of course. All right, we're getting the third one in here now. Look at that technique. Didn't even get any on my hands. And we need 3/4 of a cup sugar, so I got my 1/4 here. I'm going to need 3 of those. 1, 2, and 3. All right, now we're going to need 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. 1 and 2. All right, and the instructions say to beat that together until it is creamy and smooth. So I really tried to concentrate and do this part correctly. All right, I thought that looked pretty good. It looks pretty creamy and smooth. Of course, a little taste test goes a long way. And apparently I decided I needed to mix it more after tasting it. It wasn't quite up to standards. All right, let's try that. Yes, much better. Now we're getting our third of a cup of sour cream. And at this point, I was very confused because I thought we had just bought the sour cream. And I was like, wait a minute, it's already open. And then my husband reminded me that I had him taste test peppers. And there was one so hot that he grabbed random things out of the fridge and tried to get rid of the taste. And the sour cream was one of them. I don't think anything helped, though, to be honest. We needed that valuable information, though, that he gave us with the peppers. But after I found out that our sour cream hadn't been opened at the store and some random person stuck a spoon in it, onward with doing a third of a cup of sour cream. I wasn't, I tried to do the sour cream as best as I could. It was a little bit harder to judge than the others for if it was, the correct amount or not. And then I realized, oh, wait a minute, I need the spoon to get it out. But the spoon is also covered in sour cream. So I just decided, you know what, we'll do our best. All right, and then we need 2 tablespoons cornstarch. I, of course, have my half a tablespoon here. So we'll do half, 1, half, and 2. Perfect. Now we're just going to mix that together. It says mix in sour cream and cornstarch. It doesn't say until when, so I just assumed just until it's nice and blended thoroughly. It also didn't say whether to use the mixer or not. It just said mix in, so maybe I wasn't supposed to use the mixer at this point. I hope that we were, because it didn't specify, and the instruction before it and the instruction after it has use of the mixer. So I figured that was kind of incorporated. Now we need a separate bowl because we're doing our 4 large eggs, my 5 small eggs, and they need to be beaten slightly. So it says add slightly beaten eggs to the mixture. So I'm just going to put my eggs into this bowl here. All right, we're just going to whisk it up with a fork there. Slightly beaten. I figure that probably means that all the egg yolks are broken. That looks pretty slightly beaten to me. And then we're going to add our eggs in and mix it on low. And it says to make sure you mix it until just combined. Do not overmix. So I was terrified of this part. You can see my hesitancy. Low mixing it. Really keeping an eye. It's getting there. I stopped, and then I saw a little bit of egg and went, oh, nope. We don't want chunks of egg in our cream cheesecake. So, mixed it for a little bit longer, and I think I did a pretty good job. I feel like I definitely didn't overmix it, and that's at least that. Could I have scraped the sides of the bowl a little bit? Probably. All right, you're going to pour half of your mixture into your graham cracker crust area here. I just kind of eyeballed it a little bit. And then it says to smooth it. I don't, there wasn't really anything to smooth. Maybe my mixture's a little too runny compared to what it was supposed to be. I'm not sure. All right, we're sticking this. This was the best pan I had for this. And I had to go out to the store and get it. But we need to put it in a water bath. Okay, then we're going to take our hot water and we're going to pour it into the pan. It needs to reach up halfway up the pan. Okay, and then we're going to put this in our preheated oven 13 to 15 minutes or until the top is set. I will say mine took a lot longer than the 13 to 15 minutes to set, and I'm wondering if my mixture was too runny. But I just kept checking it every 3 to 5 minutes until it was slightly jiggly, but, firm. Okay, so here it is out of the oven. The top is set. We're going to take that mixture that we had originally made, the peach filling, and we're just going to top it on there. Not gonna lie, I was very scared that I was gonna plop that down and it was just gonna sink through this cheesecake. But I think it's working out pretty good. It says you want a thin layer here. And here's where I think I could have done the peaches a little bit thinner for slicing, but it's all good. Most of them were kind of small pieces anyways. This whole recipe, by the way, smelled amazing while I was cooking it. I am very excited to try it. Yeah, usually by this point when I'm doing the voiceover, I've already tried it, but I haven't even tried it yet because it's still setting up in the fridge. And then we're going to take the rest of our batter and pour it on top. And, oh, I almost forgot. Before you do this part, you're turning the oven down to 350. So I had already turned the oven down to 350 when I took it out of the oven. All right, kind of smoothed it out here. And then we're going to put it back in the oven for about 40 to 45 minutes at that 350 or until the cheesecake is just slightly jiggly in the center. This part was a little bit confusing. Just because of the next part for this, you'll see what I mean. But I put it back in the oven. This part did take longer as well. So the whole thing just took longer to bake than what I originally thought. I think, like, all of this excluding after I take it out of the oven for the last time, that took me a little over 3 hours to do, like, full setup, full, go through everything, do all of this. It probably would have taken a lot less long if I wasn't, like, filming and showing things and kind of, like, slowing down for some stuff, but this still took me a little over 3 hours. Okay, so while the cheesecake is baking, we're going to make the cobbler topping. And I just rinsed out the pan that I made the cheesecake stuff in, so that's why I'm wiping it down, making sure it's not wet. But this is the part that kind of confused me a little bit because it says later, for this, it says when the cheesecake is almost baked, remove it from the oven and then put this on the top, arrange some stuff, we'll go over it, and then bake for an additional 20 to 25 minutes. I wasn't sure if that meant like, oh, when the cheesecake was like, because you're supposed to bake it for 40 to 45 minutes, when it was like 20 minutes through that or what. This was what I interpreted that to mean. Anyway, for the cobbler, you need to stir together flour, which you're going to do 1 cup of flour, a little more. Oh. I'm debating. Okay, I guess that was our 1 cup of flour. And we also are going to have water going boiling on the stove for this next part. This is where our boiling water comes in, which I did not need to put that much water in that pan. We only need 1/4 of a cup. We're going to do 1/4 of a cup brown sugar. I'm just going to pack that down in there nice and tight. You ever see your fingers doing things and you're like, that looks really alien and weird? Yes. That's how I feel watching myself pack in the sugar. Like, does that look like it's hurt? But it didn't hurt my fingers at all. But it looks like it hurts them. This part was kind of annoying because, like, what do you mean you didn't want to come out and then immediately came out just fine? We need 1/4 of a cup of sugar. I keep wanting to say regular sugar, but that's not, like, super correct. I don't know. It's just sugar and brown sugar, I guess. We're going to do 1/2 teaspoon of salt, which luckily I realized that's my 1 teaspoon. So I went to look for my 1/2 teaspoon and I couldn't find it. I don't know where it went. So instead I found my 1/2 teaspoon. I distinctly remember not finding it. Maybe I'm thinking of something else. Anyway, we found the 1/2 teaspoon apparently, and we're putting it in 1/2 teaspoon of salt and then 1 teaspoon of baking powder. And I'm just going to whisk that together, try to get out any clumps. All right, now we need 1/3 of a cup of unsalted butter, cold and cut into small pieces. We got our 1/3 of a cup here, and we're just going to do a light little chop. And we're going to make it really small. Hopefully make it a little bit easy on us because I don't have that, the potato masher, what is that? The pastry thing? I don't know. I'm just going to use a fork though. Which it does say in the recipe to cut in the cold butter with a fork. So I'm not going against the recipe by using my fork. I really thought while I was doing this is not enough butter. This is way too much dry ingredients. But we're just going to get that as good as we can and just kind of try to push out the spots that have lots of butter. I think that's pretty good though. So now we're going to take 1/4 of a cup of boiling water. Ooh, steamy on the face. And it was hard boiling on my stove, too. It wasn't like not boiling at all, and then I'm just trying to say it's boiling. We're going to mix that all together. All right, and I know you're not supposed to eat raw flour, but I had to taste it just to see if, you know, it actually tasted good. And it did. It actually tasted pretty pleasant. I was surprised at how cobblery the top tasted. So, we're just going to set that aside and wait until the cheesecake is almost baked. All right, that is still jiggly, but it's almost baked. I did the same thing that I did for when we did the first layer. I just made sure that we could actually put stuff on top. And we're going to do another layer of that peach filling. That sauce, another just little thin layer. I know it's hard to tell, but there is still water in that pan, and you do still want the water in that pan for this. All right, and then we're just going to want to dollop that crumble, the cobbler topping on top of it. It says dollop the cobbler in lumps on top of the peaches before placing back in the oven. I tried to do the lumps justice. Like, I wanted it to be kind of around. We did small little lumps here and there. I ended up with more cobbler here topping than I thought I would want on top of this cheesecake, so I didn't end up putting all of it on there. I did try to make sure it was all around and stuff. So each bite will at least get some cobbler in it, or each like slice will. But I don't know, I just felt like when I was doing it that, you know, I didn't want it too big and lumpy for fear that it wouldn't cook all the way and then the rest of it would be too overcooked. Because again, I didn't quite understand the cooking instructions. Okay, so we're going to put this back in the oven at that 350 for about 20 to 25 minutes, or until the cobbler topping gets nice and golden brown in color. All right, for this next part, you're not going to take it out of the oven, even though I do, just to show you. But what you're just going to do is you're going to turn off the oven. You're going to leave the cheesecake in the oven with the door cracked for 1 hour. I did do this, and then you're going to remove it from the water bath and place it on a cooling rack to cool to room temp. I did that as well, and then we're going to chill it in the refrigerator 4 to 6 hours or overnight. Mine is going overnight. Okay, here I am showing it to you. You can't really quite tell. The crust is definitely done. Like, you can tap on it and you can feel that it's done. I could have maybe golden browned it for a little bit longer. Oh, there we go. I could have maybe golden browned it for a little bit longer. My phone was literally at 1% when I did this part, so I'm glad it kind of got it a little bit better. Right? Moment of truth. Ooh, look at how good it looks. We now have to take it out of the pan, which was a little bit of a process. I was worried about it, and it is a quite heavy cheesecake. I wanted to make sure it was very carefully taken out. I was pleasantly surprised with the fact that it didn't stick to the like little paper either. So that was great. Let me show you a side view. Moment of truth. Is it all just going to spill out and not be like formed correctly? Or will it actually slice and be a cheesecake? Oh, look at that! Hi, good morning. It's the next day and we're doing the taste test. My husband got me up so early to try this, so I'm like still like kind of asleep, but I guess he was really excited to try it. Look at how good that looks though. Like, it holds its shape. The crust on top was a little bit hard to cut through. I was worried about like smushing instead of like cutting through it. I'm excited for this. Okay. This is really good. My husband thought it was good too, so that was very exciting to hear. I definitely feel a lot better about this one. So the crust gives a much needed crunch to the whole thing. Altogether, it tastes very silky, very smooth. With the texture of the crunch on the crust is great. The um the I kept wanting to say pear and then I wanted to say pineapple and I'm like, this is the wrong fruit. The peach tastes really good. They taste really good, Mom. The peaches were great. Thank you. And the spices in them just it made it taste warm even though it's all cold, if that makes sense. It tasted just really like rich and vibrant. The cream cheese had two different tastes, and not two different tastes, but two different textures for sure. And I think it's because this bottom bit obviously baked for a lot longer than the top bit, so it's just kind of like more rich and like really creamy and very rich feeling, while the top bit is a little bit lighter and fluffier. But honestly, those two kind of together taste really nice. It's very sweet. It tastes how you want a cheesecake to taste. It's very good. I will say this graham cracker crust at the bottom is just kind of eh. Like it's soft, so it doesn't really give you like a super pleasant texture. It's just kind of soft and chewy. Um And it doesn't, like, taste super of graham cracker, which is kind of confusing to me. Even when I taste it by itself, it kind of just tastes like nothing. Maybe it's because this part is so sweet, though, it kind of just drowns it out a bit. But I think it would be nice if it was another, like, kind of, like, little bit of a crunchier element, like a wafer, kind of. Um, the top being the only crunchy element kind of, you get it here and there kind of thing. It might be a lot better if the top was just like all of it, Like the whole thing was the top, which I know I could have put on more, but if the whole thing was the top and it didn't have a bottom, I don't know. But man, this is good. It's very sweet, but it is cheesecake. I will say I kind of prefer to eat it individually, like eating like a little bit of the crust and then eating a little bit of the peaches and then like going through the layers, because I do feel like eating it all together, it kind of like mixes in a way where you can't really tell the different things, but when you eat them all individually you can be like, ah, yes, and appreciate it more. This was a 9 out of 10 though. This was really, really yummy. Thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful day, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye. I'm gonna go back to bed.